Good morning and welcome to Take 10 for this week. Over the past 4 months or so, I have been meeting with two friends to talk and pray through what it means to develop a rule of life. Now, the word rule can appear kind of rigid or legalistic, but in fact, it comes from a Greek word that can also be translated trellis, hence the image I've used to accompany this reflection. A trellis is a crisscross structure that aids the growth of things like roses or grapevines. It provides structure and support. A personal rule of life is about a framework for freedom. It is not about restriction. Jill Weber from the 24/7 Prayer Network uses an image from her native Canada in which during harsh winters, farmers would tie a rope from the door of the barn to the door of the house. That way, during a snowstorm, what they refer to as a whiteout that can genuinely rob you of any sense of direction, the farmer can hold on to the rope and it will guide him safely from the barn to home, from A to B. A rule of life is quite simply a set of practices and life rhythms that help us to live intentionally, to aid us in carving out space for ourselves, for our own spiritual and emotional well-being in what can be an extremely busy and often frenetic world. Monastic communities throughout history have lived by such rules and rhythms. But many who talk about rule of life will refer to St. Benedict, who lived in the 6th century. Benedict created a rule of life around 4 areas: prayer, work, rest, and relationships. Even if you are not a person of faith, you will be able to identify with some of those aspects. Back in January of this year, I wrote in my journal that I desired a greater authenticity in my relationship, both with God, but also with other people. I wanted a greater sense of balance and purpose in my life. A rule, or rhythm, if you prefer that word, is a way of ordering life around values, practices, and relationships. For me personally, my rule must be centered upon God and upon the Bible. But whether you are a person of faith or not, I believe that taking time to consider what makes you tick, your values, your practices or priorities, your relationships, will help you to live in such a way as to promote positive well-being. Creating a rule of life is not about a strict contract that must be obeyed at all costs. It is a living document to be embraced, experienced, and explored. My rule of life will say something about who I am and what I live for. I've been on this journey for almost 5 months and I'm still processing, identifying my values, such things as my faith and my commitment to God, authenticity in relationships I've already mentioned, generosity of time and talents, openness and hospitality, being a people helper. For me, all of those things shape the how and the why of life. Your rule will be unique to you, unique to your personality, your values, your gifts. For me, my rule of life is about a commitment to living in such a way as to embrace spiritual and personal transformation and growth, to never allow myself to become stagnant. But it's also hopefully about being part of transformation and growth in the lives of others who cross my path. The Greek word for Holy Spirit is paraclete. It means advocate or counselor. It can also be translated as one who comes alongside. That is my heart, to be one who comes alongside and journeys with others, both in the good times and not so good. What about you? Is your life intentionally shaped around values and practices and a structure of relationships that give meaning and direction to your life? If you enjoy these reflections, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we will see you next week.